Hello, everybody, and welcome to Starting Small Music. I'm Justin McCormick, and you're about to hear a conversation with an artist, musician, and music industry professional on their journey and where they got to where they are today. At Starting Small, we like to take you down a journey uncovering the untold stories of your favorite songs and artists. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. How you doing today, Levon?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Great. So getting right into your story, where did you grow up, and what was your childhood like?
I'm from Mobile, Alabama, on the Gulf Coast. I was born in '91, so um, I was able to see life before and after social media, and so I'm young enough to understand what's going on, old enough to have a hard time with TikTok. um, no, man, growing up in Mobile was interesting. You know, I'm biracial, and being from the South at that time, it was interesting in regards to comments I would get from other children. I mean, I would say I was teased, but I wouldn't say I was bullied. It was just kind of where I grew up. You got teased even by people that loved you. You know, it was,
Yeah.
it was culture, and but it was very diverse. My neighborhood was, when I was small, was mostly Vietnamese, and then there was some African Americans and white people. And then over time, my neighborhood, more of the Vietnamese people left, and there were mostly black people. Then some Hispanic people moved in, and there were some Jamaicans down the street. Um, some Cubans became my in-laws. Um, I, it was very culturally diverse, way more than one would think if they weren't from there. You know? So it was a different type of experience just being around, like, imagine like a tiny New Orleans.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say tiny, but definitely tinier than New Orleans. But no, music was everywhere. From, we were the original home of Mardi Gras. So that, music, and it wasn't just like the jazz, but that was part of it. But we would have all kinds of music playing during those type of events. Like, there'd be funk, there'd be blues, gospel, country, southern rock, a lot of southern rock.
Yeah.
So my background is so diverse. There's so much I could tell. That's why it's so hard to do stuff like this for me. So if I feel like, if it seems like I'm talking all over the place, forgive me. But I started musically technically in church. My mother and father's families had musical backgrounds, so it's something kind of all of us do in some form or another. But my brother and I are the only ones that like pursued it professionally.
Gotcha. So growing up, who were some of the first artists that you listened to that you like really resonated with their records?
Um, the first music I ever really heard was Bob Marley.
Oh, cool.
My father would play me Bob Marley and like James Brown, old Motown, and he was very eclectic too. He would play stuff like Phil Collins.
Oh, cool.
Like, my father was African American, and my mother was Caucasian, and she was from a little small town, a little small country town. He was from projects, so I grew up in a very, you know, I'm. We used to say, now we say biracial or multiracial. When I was growing up, we said mixed,
Yeah.
and it kind of sounds degrading now, but it was a mixture of a lot of vibes and influences. My earliest country music influences were like Patsy Cline, because my mother used to like sing me to sleep with old Patsy Cline songs. And
Oh, wow.
I fell in love with Elvis at a young age after I saw like this mini series. Same thing, Michael Jackson. There's so many influences, but like, to get a good grasp on what that really looked like for me was my bedroom wall during my teenage years. On one wall was Bob Marley, on one wall was Michael Jackson, one wall was Elvis, and on the door was Faith Hill and Tim McGraw.
Wow, such a mix.
Yeah.
So in high school, were you just doing choir at the time, or did you start kind of gigging out in your area?
I started in a marching band in high school,
What instrument did you play?
the sousaphone.
Oh, wow.
You
What was that experience like?
know? It was hot. It was really hot. Like band camp. Like it was terrible. I hated it so much. I did it because I thought that it would be an opportunity to get a scholarship, because it's rare that people are going to play the tuba, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, and my mama really wanted me to go to college. I didn't really want to, but I'm like, being a kid in the 90s, we were told that you have to go to college, make something of yourself. If not, you're going to be broke.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, this is a plan, a solid plan. And I just didn't really like it. I was actually in a Christian rock band in high school, and I spent more time doing that. And at that time, I was into R&B more vocally, but I played Christian rock in regards to traveling and things like that. Now, I wasn't getting paid a lot of money, but it was still pretty cool.
Totally.
For me, I felt like a rock star, even though I'm at like church camps and stuff like that. It was cool to me.
Were you writing the original material for that band, or were you guys doing covers?
Um, well, there was two bands. One band, it was just straight covers. In the other band, it was originals. It was kind of half and half between me and another guy. And
Gotcha.
so looking back, it's really cringy to think that we took those songs in front of people. But it was cool to say that, hey, we actually did it and kind of made it work for a while, and people came to see us, and it was interesting.
Now you kind of kept going with, you were doing the Christian rock, and then was it after high school is when you started kind of doing music ministry too?
I had been doing music ministry the whole time, basically. I had been kind of like interning at the church from the time I was a little, like maybe like 11. And I volunteered, intern. I did that all throughout high school. I didn't have any plans to really do anything else except for music and ministry, either together or separate. And I I did it for 7 years professionally after I graduated high school.
Oh, wow.
And so that was a huge part of my life. It just was to the point where I didn't I'm not gonna say I wasn't fulfilled in a way that is disrespectful to anybody that poured into me and helped me along the way. That's not what I mean at all. I just wasn't able to. I didn't feel like I could freely express myself without being judged, and regardless of what I believed or not. So I just decided that I would see what it was like out there in the world, and I wanted to. And honestly, I just wanted to make music that I liked. That
Totally.
was it. And so
When did you make the decision to kind of transition out of that and trying to pursue songwriting full time?
um, I didn't actually. That wasn't the. I never wanted to do songwriting full time, or I never even really thought about doing it as a career at all, except for like every now and then. I was an independent artist in Mobile. I had a video at the time, like almost 40,000 views or something on YouTube. It was, the song was spinning on the local station a lot.
That's dope.
It was a cool moment, but it just didn't really, it, it I didn't really capitalize on what was going on. I didn't understand the hustle of posting and learning hashtags, putting some money behind promotion, talking, collaborating. I just didn't really understand the social media stuff, and I didn't really, I didn't really start pursuing like music full time. Like I'm not technically I always did music full time, but outside of the church, like all on my own, I was about 20. I'm 30 now. I was about 26, and so like 2018, and I was doing just my own music, and I just kind of had this idea that one day I would write a song for somebody that would kind of be my entrance into the music industry some type of way. And
Totally.
I never thought that it would be an option that I could sign a publishing deal. I didn't really know about publishing deals. All I ever, because being in that R&B hip hop world I was in um, for the first couple of years after I left doing music ministry, there was no real talk about publishing. Usually, people get kind of tricked out of their publishing and stuff like that. So talking about what a publishing deal is and stuff, which is one of the things I respect about Nashville. Like they, this is a really cool place in regards to just ethics, way better than what I've dealt with in the past. I actually had a certified gold with participation in the certified gold project a couple of years ago, but I was uncredited for it and kind of had to start all over again and navigating my way through trying, failing as an independent artist, not knowing what to do. I decided to change directions when my mother passed away from COVID.
Oh, wow.
And I had already kind of started changing directions into a more bluesy, rootsier vibe, almost kind of folk rockish. I don't know what I was doing. I just knew I didn't want to do what I was doing before. And I just up and decided, kind of had this feeling in my gut, it's time to write country music like you did in high school, which is, totally. I wrote R&B flavored country music in high school. People didn't quite understand it, but now it's 15 years later, and that sound is a very important part of popular music. So I tagged Kane Brown in the first country song I had written in 10 years, and he just so happened to look at it and hit me back in 20 minutes, and that's how I became a professional songwriter.
That story is so crazy, and I want to get back into that in a minute. But actually, before you even got into songwriting, you actually played guitar on Lil Baby's Street Gossip album. How did you get in contact with Lil Baby?
Well, that's the project I didn't get credited for.
So are we not going to talk about that one? I'm kidding.
I'm not going to include any names out of respect, because I don't have any beef with the guy anymore. Do I feel some type of way about what went down? Of course I do. But I think that I'm so into creating music now, I really don't care. I feel like both of us are so much better than we were 5 years ago when we met, me and this certain producer. I'd love to see what kind of music we can make now, honestly.
Totally.
But no, I never met Lil Baby. I had been working at the time with the producer that produced that track. And we've been, as far as I know, I was the first person who brought a guitar into his studio. And besides the guitar he had in the studio that nobody played. And we did some of the first trap, guitar trap songs. Like at that time, it was like a wave,
Yeah.
And that was really one of the first of its kind. And although uncredited, I was a part of it. I composed it, but I was treated as if I was a session musician rather than a person who composed and played something that added to and made into something. So it was, you know, people trying to look after themselves, and I understand business is business. You got to cover your own. I'm trying to watch my mouth. You got to cover yourself, and I chalk it up to learning, learning just to keep my eyes open, and I'm blessed to be where I am now. I don't have a vengeful spirit anymore. But I'm just grateful to be here. It's crazy that and I'm still proud of that, even though my name isn't on it. I mean, I it was encouraging to know that I had made music that had made it around the world, and I mean, it had charted on charts in the top 10 around the world. That album, and I didn't even know about it. I didn't even know about the song. I was washing dishes at a Mexican restaurant at that time.
Dang. So you talked about posting the video and tagging Kane in it. What gave you the idea to tag Kane, and how surprised were you when you saw that notification pop up that he DM'd you?
Um, I, he was the first person I thought of because honestly, he's the most successful um, country singer of color,
Yeah.
and it was, and I just thought as far as pop culture is concerned right now, he's a very important voice and face. And I thought, hey, it's a shot in the dark. Why not go for broke? I tagged him and a couple of other people,
Yeah.
not thinking that the biggest, and that's not putting anybody else down, but he's one of the biggest stars in the world today. I
For
mean,
sure.
across genre, and I didn't think that he would be the one to respond, but he did, and thank God he did.
Now, did he just say, I want to bring you to town and kind of just write with you? Or what was that message like after he kind of messaged you?
It was crazy. My mother had passed 12 days before, and so it was really fresh. I was literally bawling in my wife's lap about my mama.
Yeah.
I had forgotten about the post, and it was about 30 minutes later, and I'm just bawling, and my wife is like, "Dude, if you know your mama, she's bugging somebody on your behalf right now."
Wow. That is
And
really cool.
a few seconds after she said that, I had my phone ding, and it's Kane Brown saying, "Hey, where are you from?" And I'm just like, I can't even talk because I'm snot crying, and I show my wife the phone, I'm like, look, like, answer him. I was like, I don't think it's him, it's fake. And so that was my first reaction, that it was fake. Um, but I saw it was his actual verified account, and I just I felt like I've been in a dream ever since.
Totally. Now, was the first song you guys wrote together One Mississippi?
Yeah.
So what was it like coming to town and being thrown in a room of all-star writers like Kane and Ernest and a bunch of other all-stars?
Well, he invited me after I sent him a few more songs.
Mm-hmm.
He kept asking me, "Who'd you write these with?" I'm like, "I wrote them by myself." Oh, and like, well, what about this one though? I'm like, just me. It was like, okay, what are you doing March such such? I'm like, nothing. And he just started saying like, oh yeah, okay, well, I'm gonna set this up. And by the way, these are the guys that are gonna be in the room. And he didn't name their names; he just named things that they did.
Yeah.
So I was expecting Hardy in the room, which ended up being Ernest.
Yeah.
All he said was like, this guy like wrote half of Morgan Wallen's album, and I'm like, well, the only guy I read about that did that was Hardy, and no idea I was walking into a session with a machine like Ernest, and it was there were people I never heard of. I knew about Kane, you know, I knew about a few different artists. I just had no idea about these writers and producers. I'm one to Google a lot,
Yeah.
but there's so many names to keep up with these days. You know what I mean? They didn't ring a bell, but I was like, you know what? Let me Google. And I'm literally, so I realized who Jesse Frazier was. Of course, I know who Kane is, and I'm thinking I'm working with Hardy, but I see this guy with his mullet, this Kenny Rogers looking beard, and sunglasses, just cool as a fan. He's like, "What's up, man? I'm Iron." I'm like, "Hey, I'm Levon," and we get in that room, and he just gets to going, freestyling, and we're freestyling back and forth, just having fun. But I noticed that he's really, really good, and I Googled him literally while I'm sitting next to him. I'm like, "Oh, this is." I didn't even realize he was like on the session, like on the right. I just thought he was kind of hanging out like another writer there that day. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is, oh man, this dude's a big deal.
Now, are you and Earn buds now? I mean, I feel like you guys both give me the same vibe, especially him coming from a rap background as well.
Oh, definitely. I say we're cool. If we see each other, it's love. And every now and then, you know, if I message him or something, he will reply. You know, it's not nothing like we talk to each other every day, but I know that we both dig each other's vibe and we can relate about a lot of things. And he's done nothing but encourage me. And even if, you know, like Ernest, Kane, Jesse, those guys never have to collaborate with me again. And, you know, I got their back.
For sure. What else do you remember about the day you wrote One Mississippi? Did you guys come out of that day knowing that this was going to be a smash?
Everybody had that feeling, but, you know, we get that feeling so much, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even before my pub deal, there were songs. Every song I wrote back home in Mobile, I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be the one," you know, one, you know. But Kane liked it, and that's why everybody got excited because you know, Kane's picky,
Yeah.
and I understand why. You know, he has a lot to he has a lot to uphold right now, and a lot to live up to, and he can easily do it because he's living up to the hype created around him just being such a good guy. So
Sure.
I got Kane's just amazing. I feel like he really took a chance on me when he didn't have to. Nobody knew who I was. The little baby thing went uncredited, you know. I
Yeah.
had value in the music industry, but he's the type of person that sees talent. And I'm glad that I posted that day because I wasn't good at that, you know, and just a little bit of consistency and paying attention to that little voice inside that say, hey, do this now, you know, you might want to do this right now. The one time I really pay attention to that, you know, everything changes for me. And you know, I feel like I'm in church giving my testimony all the time because it was an amazing the 180 in my life is, you know, I went from wanting to die to wanting to live, you know, feeling like I had a few reasons to live, not just one, you know.
Yeah.
So thank God for Kane Brown and country music.
For sure. Now, in 2020, kind of stepping away from the country music, you put out a single called Sativa. What was the inspiration behind that? And do you have any more plans for new music under your own name?
Well, yeah, definitely. Sativa, that was just kind of I I didn't usually do stuff like that. I was more smoother on the R&B side of things, but I like I just wanted to vibe that day. And my boy Trevor, I mean, Trevor's in my opinion the dopest producer in Alabama, and he's not signed. He isn't anybody with like any widely held acclaim, but talent wise and and people that are working in the industry in the South in the hip hop scene, they know who he is now.
Yeah.
But boy's like 22, 23 years old, completely changed my sound and updated it. He brought my sound into the 21st century, and he he played me the beat for a few songs, and he played me Sativa. I was like, I want to kind of because one thing me and Ernest talked about was I was a rapper. I wasn't a rapper. I rapped before I sang,
Yeah.
just like Ernest. And so this was an opportunity to show that side of things. And and I've always just been a versatile type of artist that I might not ever put out anything that sounds anything like Sativa ever again, but I still think it's a vibe.
No, it is for sure. Now, to close out the interview, I always like to ask my guests one piece of advice you'd like to give to any other musician out there that's trying to pursue a career in music.
You just do it and don't stop. Like, the only way you lose is if you quit. And I'm living proof of that. Um, that's really it. You either do it or you don't. There's no I feel like it or it's hard today. Just wake up, remember who you are and what your purpose is. And if this is your purpose, then what a beautiful purpose. It's really worth pursuing.